longer than we have. Acclimated incredibly fast.
I'm cool like that.
Okay, so how can you be the real Harley Quinn?
Oh, the Russos plan to fix the MCU. Oh, am I excited. Let's see what you've got, Russos. Get over and follow the wonder. Tell Tyrone Magnus sent you.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. So not only do the Russo brothers have plans to start a new beginning for the MCU and essentially bring us the soft reboot with Avengers Doom and Avengers Secret Wars, but they also have plans to fix the MCU. In a recent interview, the Russo brothers explained that they have a plan to restore the MCU to its former glory, and they're going to do so with the next Avengers film and, of course, an Avengers Secret Wars as well.
Well, then we should see Zero Woke in all of them too, then, if they plan on restoring it to its former glory. So, let's see what you got here.
In an interview with The Times, they have explained that they will refocus the MCU. And in the article, they also make the argument that Marvel Studios and Marvel movies have actually kept theaters alive. They have kept cinema alive, with the article being titled itself, Russo Brothers, Marvel is Killing Cinemas, ? No, they've kept them open. And
that's a possibility, but at the same time, they are killing them now.
And although the box office numbers aren't what they used to be, Marvel has considerably contributed to box office numbers since 2008's Iron Man, and Marvel in general even way before then with a lot of movies that they've done in the past. And there's a lot of really awesome things in this article, but we're first going to tackle what the apparent problem with the MCU is that I think a lot of people will agree with at this point in time, what the Russo brothers...
We already know what it is.
Others think of it, and how they are going to fix it. The article states, when the Russo brothers entered the MCU, it was at a bullish time when the original heroes, Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor, could do no wrong. The brothers succeeded in making Marvel...
Well, if they could do wrong, just talk to Thor in the Dark World. However, the majority of what they did was good to great. Maybe even passing. You know what I'm saying? It was like, it might have been meh. But you kind of had a good time watching that end credit scene. You know what I'm saying? But the majority of the stuff, it was passable. Collectively, all the movies together from the beginning to Endgame, you are a very happy Marvel fan. Now, not so much.
Dig deeper,
and we know
it
why.
Has suffered since they left. Anthony Russo says, well, we love the genre. Some people wrote it off as a less comprehensive form of storytelling that's more for children. But we think of it as relevant for adults. If it is treated with maturity and complexity, that's...
Yeah, if you tell it right, a bunch of people can go say family movie, G-rated movies, and come away having had a great time. And we all have a little bit of a kid inside of us, some bigger than others.
That's really all it is, a commitment to storytelling. And I 100% agree on that. Obviously, some stuff is tailored more towards kids than others, but I think overall, Marvel is definitely tailored towards adults, and I do think we could use a little bit more seriousness in the MCU, and I think the Russo brothers are going to bring that back. But the article continues and states, the trouble is, there are now 29 Marvel TV series and 35 films. The commitment to storytelling has fallen off a cliff.
I mean, the list.
Convoluted plots have taken over. What will the Russo brothers do about it? Well, here's what...
Funny how they keep pointing to other things as being the problem. I love that. We all know what it was. We all know why people aren't going to see them. And it's not because of convoluted storytelling. We all know why. That may be a very small part. It's not the major part. Don't try it.
Anthony Russo had to say, yes, the MCU has got quite large, that's for sure. I mean, frankly, we struggle with that same issue. But part of the reason Joe and I decided to go back is exactly what you're talking about. There needs to be more of a central narrative. That was something we were very specific about when we worked.
That's right, you need to change the narrative. And it begins with a W. We know what we need to change here.
With Marvel before. We would like to bring the focused narrative back. And this interview was for their new movie, The Electric State, with Chris Pratt, who
Focus
of course
it on
plays
greatness.
Star-Lord. And before we dive into what they just said, they
On
also
great
asked
storytelling.
Chris Pratt about this situation. The article says, well, if anyone can save Marvel, it will be these two. After all, they were the ones who made it billions in the first place. I asked Pratt, can these men fix the MCU? And Chris Pratt said, sure. They know that it's the mundane, human brokenness of characters that drives stories and makes the Avengers great.
Anybody
They
can
have
fix
this
it. This is
ability
them.
to find the humanity. So even Chris Pratt kind of acknowledges a little bit at least that the MCU is kind of in a slump, but he has full faith that the Russo brothers can bring it back. And of course you have to imagine that Star-Lord is returning, especially after working on an entire movie with the Russo brothers, The Electric State. You know they talked about what they had planned for the next two Avengers films. I'm sure Chris Pratt knows a ton about Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. Now the article also mentions something that the Russo brothers say about Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, and we'll get to that, but let's first dive into what they said about how to fix the MCU. Now at first,
Who's the directors you think could do $1 billion Marvel movie? The Russos, James Cameron, Christopher Nolan. I think Zach could. Who else? Who else? Trying to think. Who else could do $1 billion Marvel movie? I don't know. I mean, Coogler did Black Panther, but right? He did the first Black Panther, first and the second. First one did $1 billion, right? I don't know what the second one did, but it wasn't as good as what people were saying. But it still did it, but it may have been the novelty because they were kind of pushing it as the first Black superhero. No, it really wasn't. Trying to think. Post your comments down below. Let me know what you think. And post your what directors you think could make $1 billion Marvel movie. I know there's certain stars that probably could. Maybe that'll do it for Black Panther because Denzel's supposed to be in it. I thought about that. I was like, Denzel, I think, could make $1 billion. You bringing him into Black Panther could make $1 billion, but it's not guaranteed. But the only guy that I think is absolutely guaranteed, besides the Russos, is Cameron. Cameron, I think, can do $1 billion Marvel movie and like to just sign the check. You know what I'm saying?
they say that they struggle with the same issue, which makes a ton of sense because they are basically inheriting everything that Marvel has done, not even just since Phase 4, but just everything in general, and they're having to pick it up right now. But to their point, yes, the stories have been kind of convoluted, and yes, the stories haven't been focused on one central thing. Now, it's not like every single movie in the Infinity Saga focused on Thanos, but...
What about Thor Ragnarok? Did that do $1 billion? How much did Thor Ragnarok make?
You really made Back to the Future?
Well, okay. 853. I'm saying, because that was damn good. I enjoyed that. Whedon, the first Avengers movie, did. How much did the first Avengers make? 1.52 billion. Okay, so Whedon was able to do it, so I guess it's a possibility he could do it again. But he's got a bad rep right now, so...
There was a lot of connections to him. We obviously have our post-credit scene for the Avengers. Thanos is obviously the one who kind of employed Loki to go take over Earth. He gave him...
I forgot who directed Spider-Man No Way Home. But that was $1 billion movie too. So that's a possibility also. But that was also, there was big names in there. All three Spider-Man was in there and everything, you know what I'm saying? So that was a major, major part of that.
The scepter that had the Infinity Stone in it. In Age of Ultron, Thor started to realize that the Infinity Stones were coming into play and that there was someone out there doing something with them. Plus, not to mention the post-credit scene for Avengers Age of Ultron literally showed us the Infinity Gauntlet and Thanos putting his hand in it, saying, fine, I'll do it myself, showing us that Thanos was the overall big bad villain. The Guardians of the Galaxy also introduced him and showed him trying to collect the Power Stone, which Ronan would end up taking, but then the Guardians of the Galaxy gave it to Xandar, and that that all came into play. We found out that Thanos decimated Xandar to get the Power Stone, and when Thanos shows up and Bruce Banner is freaking out to Tony and Doctor Strange and Wong, Bruce Banner even says, he sent Loki. This is Thanos. The guy who sent Loki to New York, this is him. We don't have any of that. And even for Kang, only a little bit was built up as well. We had the first 2 seasons of Loki and then Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, where we kind of started to get going, but they also had him defeated by ants in that film as well. Poor decision. But all the other movies, there's really not too big of a connection. So the Russo brothers are...
No matter how powerful them damn ants became, it made him look really weak. It was hokey and campy having him get beat like that.
Coming into this wanting to make that connection. And apparently their plan is pretty simple. They're going to refocus the narrative, which is very interesting because it's not like they have movies before Avengers Doomsday to do this themselves. Obviously we get movies coming out before, but it doesn't seem like the Russo brothers were too involved with the Thunderbolts, like not involved at all when it came to making it, but they came into the MCU again with a story at hand. This magical, perfect story that they've been talking about that took over a year to come up with that finally brought them back. Like Robert Downey Jr. literally said he was trying to get them to come back for a year. They kept saying no until they finally found that perfect story. So it's logical to think that this story is going to affect some other MCU projects. And we know that this story is obviously going to affect everything in between Doomsday and Secret Wars, but I do think
Spielberg could do $1 billion. I think Spielberg could do $1 billion Marvel movie. I think he could.
I think it might have a little impact on the Fantastic Four. Because depending on when the Russo brothers came back, that movie still could have been wrapping up filming or in the post-production process. And they could have come in close enough to give us something for Doom in the Fantastic Four film. I'm crossing my fingers. We'll have to wait and see on that. But the biggest thing that they're going to do is make everything from Avengers Doomsday to Avengers Secret Wars connect. It's all going to be focused on one story. And if Avengers Doomsday really does bring us Battleworld at the end, then yes, everything will have to. So it won't actually be that hard for the Russo brothers to do. And destroying the multiverse and creating Battleworld at the end.
Why would anyone keep on running in this weather?
End of Avengers Doomsday is actually a really great idea, so they can do this, so they can refocus the narrative. It becomes all about Doom at that point in time, and then everything after Doomsday essentially becomes a Doomsday Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, however many movies they're going to do, they're all basically going to be coming off Doomsday. For example, Spider-Man 4 is supposed to be a big multiversal film now. Then if we get Doctor Strange 3, that is obviously supposed to be about the multiverse in general and the incursions, and that would have already happened if Doctor Strange 3 comes after Doomsday, which we believe it will be. Thor 5 should be about Loki. If we get Shang-Chi 2, that should connect the Bengals to, well, what was once Kang technology, but now could be Doom technology. So everything really can be brought together now. And the great news is that's the Russos' plans. And I think that's going to make for a great end to the multiverse saga. And I think that the movies that we're going to get from here on out are going to be really great. The Thunderbolts, the Fantastic Four, Doomsday, Spider-Man 4, everything else, I think they're going to be fantastic movies. And Robert Downey Jr. is returning as Doom, and that's exciting whether you like it or not. You're definitely wondering what's going to happen. I know I am. At the end of the article states, back to the Russos, how will they bring back Robert Downey Jr. as the villainous Dr. Doom, given he died as a different character, Iron Man, in Avengers Endgame? And Anthony Russo said, we can't explain that as part of the story, but there's nobody else in the world who could play this character the way he's about to. And Anthony Russo concluded the interview by stating, look, every movie is hard, but we're excited. We've got something to say. So they're coming into this with a lot of intention here. There is a specific story that they're sold on that they want to tell. They want to refocus the narrative of the MCU to focus around Doctor Doom and one story, and they're determined to do so, and it sounds like they are incredibly confident, which is awesome for us. But go ahead and let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comments down below. Do you think the Russo brothers can fix the...
Well, if anybody can fix it, it sure as hell is the damn Russos.
I get it. The Stone Cold Steve Austin accent. Everybody does it. Anyway.